Yeah. Greetings, good people. What's up? What's happening? My name is Dr. Clarence, and welcome back to TV7 Live, where we get to give you all the hottest and top 10 topics, broadcasting live and direct from Zimbabwe, Africa, on a Tuesday, 29 October, the year 2024. What is up in Zimbabwe? What has been happening in Zimbabwe? We're coming from a time where we saw the Zanu PF annual conference happening there in the city of Kings in Bulawayo. Then we saw ED 2030 resolution was dissolved there. Now, how is Zanu PF going to ensure that the next leader, number one, is going to be accepted by the people, and number two, is actually going to be winning the election? And then how are they going to be ensuring a smooth transition? Now, there are some things that may happen in a smooth transition. We saw Nelson Chamisa over the past 2 days there appearing on social media. He wasn't appearing at a rally, but at a common village function there. He is still a significant figure. He is somebody who doesn't need a political party. Remember, modern politics is now shifting towards what we call populist politics. If we take a look at what happened during the MDC Alliance days, there was no time to mobilize or to campaign for votes. Same applies in the Triple C. The last alliances that happened in Zimbabwe, the Triple C and the MDC alliance, were all what we can call instant political parties. So Zanu PF is at a very high risk. So how will they do this? The military may play a key figure. At some point, they have to take over for a transition. If they would opt for this option, we're going to be looking at the options that Zanu PF have. And in one of the options, Mnangagwa would be remaining in power without making any amendment to the constitution. Then, the issue of ensuring the next leader wins the election is very crucial and critical, right? And then we're going to be looking at ED and Chiwenga leadership styles, because when we come from the Zanu PF People's Conference, the very first video we see Zimbabwe President Emerson Mnangagwa make would be this one that would be looking like a VP Chiwenga style of video. Big up to Simbesa Makwanibo watching us live, and Stephen Muchangawaya watching us live right now. Those watching us live, you can write comments in the top chat or in the super chat. That's how I can get CNM, so I can give my shout outs.
Corruption is one of the continent's greatest threats.
We see ED speaking with a journalist there, or rather a cameraman from ZBC. He's doing that from the State House. As we can see here, this is a scripted thing. Obviously, one has to be speaking from a script or not from a script, depending on what they want to be doing, right? But this is not ED's usual style of delivering speeches. Even his pattern of speak, his rhythm there, reciting. I don't know if these guys don't have mobile teleprompters where they can just put the teleprompter and he can just look into the teleprompter and appear as if he's looking into the camera, right? I'm talking as if I use a teleprompter. Enough respect to Chalimpano watching us live. So we see him talking about corruption, and then he is speaking out against catch and release reality.
Negative and corrosive effects which hamper and reverse economic development, progress and stability. Its negative impact cannot be downplayed. Similarly, the fight against corruption remains a serious and a complex challenge. networks of corruption are...
He comes back again and says the fight against corruption, and then he mentions networks of corruption, right? So corruption does not necessarily mean getting a bribe or soliciting for a bribe, like seeking money from somebody to be able to do a service for them. Corruption can actually mean rotten. The hard drive is corrupted. It is no longer functional, right? It's no longer working. This USB drive is now corrupted. It's no longer functional, right? Like any government sector that is not delivering, it is corrupt, right? So we see ED speaking on it right now. Are we going to be seeing some cabinet reshuffles and some firing of some PEM6 and also engaging of the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission to actually be recovering some funds because we're seeing our finance is at a very difficult position. They're trying to seek funds, and these guys keep on adding a tax on top of a tax, as if these guys are now like the Egyptian pharaohs, those guys in the biblical days. So anyways, basically EDA is talking about corruption, no reference to any specific issue or deeper substantial information there.
And prosecution of corruption cases.
And prosecution of corruption cases. So this is a good approach here. And anyways, this is coming from a time where we're coming from the Bulawayo conference, and he does that first video there. It might be a public publicity type of thing there. Anyways, what do we see? We see Chamisa here making a speak. Now, Chamisa is open and clear. At the same time, he's trying to sound not rude, because the truth is not rude, okay? Nhasi chaiye ndichibva kuno ndikati chipiri, vedu vemunyika ngatiite zvakati, imi. So what he's talking about, he's talking about what he's not talking about, but that is what he's talking about. He's saying any day, any moment, if there's an election, and if I say let's go and vote pana Chamisa chete, I will win resoundingly. That is exactly what he's saying there. And it is a truth, because apart from the ruling party, the alternative, do we have alternatives in the alternatives? Even going back to the year 2008, political parties have always been centered around individuals, because obviously individuals who would be the visionaries, who would be building a vision. In Africa, we don't have the discipline yet to have an institution which we can run without it being personalized. We don't have such an institution that can run on its own without it being personalized. Even from the days as Zinwa personalized all the water in Zimbabwe and all the bores, etc., including to the nation of Zimbabwe itself, it is personalized. It is not like our nation, right? So we don't have that.
Amy. Asa tisatafika ikoko. Mwari vanoda kuti nyika ino ivakwe nemaoko akachena. Kwete vanhu vanodeura ropa revanhu. Kwete vanhu vanouraya. Kwete vanhu vanopona.
Then here we see him put some political punchlines. Kwete vanhu vanoponda, kwete vanhu vanouraya, right? That is for entertainment value, to entertain the crowd there. Because as a politician, at the same time, you don't have to be talking a lot of sense. I'm not saying he's talking nonsense or he's talking his sense.
That is what must transform our country. Yes,
yes, chero zvikarema vanachangirai vakasvika pakuenda zvisina kuzadzikiswa. I would respect that statement coming from Nelson Chamisa. He is his own person. Nyangwe akapinda kamupindiro kechi Mnangagwa paakapinda pa top leadership. Anyways, the party would then be taken by the female version of Tsabangu. I mean, Tabangu is the male version of Thokozani Kupe actually. It will be taken by Thokozani Kupe. Before we see the male version of Thokozani Kupe, who is now singing as Tsabangu. The guys who are not Tsabangu, our political parties, etc. Right? So we see Triple C being dismantled. Now imagine if Triple C had gotten into power, Yekutonganyika, with the characteristics right now, at some point we would see them misbehaving the same way we see these Zanu PF guys doing, but we don't see that happening. Now, when ED is fresh getting into power, following the not so cool, right? They want to be accepted. And again, in Zanu PF, when these guys are going to be naming their next successor, they have to name somebody who can win an actual election. They have to name somebody who can be accepted by the international community, by Zimbabweans, right? So far, ED and Chiwenga, both guys, are under US sanctions. Anyways, US sanctions, they say that we have a right to tell our bank, or our banks have a right to deal with whoever they want, or not whatever they want. So, on that note, the United States would have excluded politics from being the source of whatever action they are taking on President Emerson Mnangagwa, VP Chiwenga, and 10 other guys, or 9 other guys who are on the sanction list. Meaning, they can operate as president in their capacity. When they're doing anything for Zimbabwe, we deal with them, right? But who else could qualify? Obviously, the next person is VP Chiwenga. Now, on that note of VP Chiwenga coming from the coup, we see him being made the vice president very quickly. At that time, he is celebrated, right? People believe they have been liberated. Now, one of the reasons why people would celebrate VP Chiwenga was not the hope that things were going to get better in Zimbabwe. Chiwenga is celebrated for this legacy, that in our lifetime we got to have at least another president who was not Robert Gabriel Mugabe. We managed to test at least another president in our lifetime. Some were born and their children, and all of them died under Robert Gabriel Mugabe. But we had the privilege of at least seeing another president, right? So, on that note and on that light of this mood that I've said, I would have said that with that, I would like to beg all the guys, the liberation firefighters, the guys in Zanu PF, for everybody who feel entitled as if they own Zimbabwe. I would like to plead with them. In fact, I would like to tell you this: you don't own Zimbabwe. Okay, I'm not kidding. Anyways, we see Tsvangirai falls ill, right? Chiwenga and Mnangagwa would go to see Tsvangirai as feel well, right? So either varida kutraya kufarwa nevanhu saka vari kunyepedzera, vari kunyepedzera kuita haiwa kwakanaka, kana kunyepedzera kuchete ngavaramba vachinyepedzera vakomana, right? So sometimes vanenge vasina maplan, or sometimes some other things maplan asatana anenge achiitika, whatever will be happening, but hapana zvine zvichiitika, right? So we can't give ED another chance up to 2030. We can't amend the constitution because some things haven't been realized over a period yatakabvumirana kuti period inoita, right? We need to move to the next. We need to experience next. I need to become the president also, so we need to move very, very fast. All right. So we see ED and Chiwenga visit Tsvangirai, right? Chamisa is not what they call a senior in the political party, right? But Chamisa is a horse you can bet on. Chamisa is a likable character. He's got that grace from God or that blessing, right? So we see him make that video, that hilarious video he made 2 days ago, right? People are loving him. Whether it was a Nyaraz, whatever the function was, it's out there. People can showcase their best days or whatever they be doing there. We see Elias Mzuri make a post on Nelson Chamisa, right? He writes, people must learn to separate social life with politics, as you can't turn a whole memorial service in a rural setup where you don't have a single vote to a political party. This is absurdity. It clearly shows a high level of desperation and lack of moral respect. So Engineer Elias Mzuri, what he has said is very wrong. But what we see here, this guy is what we would call a gaslighter in head morality or in mob psychology, right? He is not somebody who is very sophisticated. He is a low life, worse than ordinary. He is the type of a person who masquerade and trying to manipulate people for their hidden agenda and bitterness and resentment, right? That is why he is thinking he can write a biblical verse. Okay, an African proverb is it a statutory instrument of X.com. All right, underground mitemo yatunoita kumba kwedu yanodzidzisa vana vangu nevazukuru vangu Chamisa asi mwana wangu kana muzukuru wangu kuti ndikamuudza kuti this is absurdity, hatidaro, there is no moral respect, as if I am related to anybody at the moral service. So that would be entitlement from Elias Engineer Mzuri there, right? Anyways, he has a right to express himself, but he is wrong. Okay, we don't leave that gaslit fire there. He has a right to be whoever he wants to be. He was in the political party when Morgan Tsvangirai was still alive, among many other guys. We see at one point Morgan Tsvangirai's passport is confiscated. We hear leaked audios where Morgan Tsvangirai is basically screaming for somebody to help him because people are awaiting his death so that they can get a piece of whatever wealth from him they'll be getting. Right, I have to say that is the truth, right? Whoever was involved, be it so-called friends or so-called family, right? There wasn't a person who could perceive the situation as was that this guy maybe sometimes is needing moral support. Now we go to the video where we see they arrive there. As much as there is holding back of Nelson Chamisa, I'm not saying he was correct or wrong, whatever. That holding back we saw happening in Morgan Tsvangirai. These guys failing to have a dialogue and working together. For Zimbabwe to have a smooth transition, there is need for a dialogue. Zanu PF has to use the opposition the same way they did in the year 2009, where they would send Patrick Chinamasa for negotiations in South Africa with Morgan Tsvangirai, and then they would put in Azam Tambana to make Morgan Tsvangirai not so powerful, because Morgan Tsvangirai was a figure. Now Morgan Tsvangirai had the type of power that we call worship power. Morgan Tsvangirai had the power to actually do a coup without a military. He could have done a civilian coup without any gun, and he would have succeeded. That was Morgan Tsvangirai level of power and conviction. That was the level of moving the masses. And in the passage of time, we see those he was working with tiring him, basically to a point where we see his demise. The end of Morgan Tsvangirai was a very sad one. The sad of Oliver Mtukudzi was a very sad one. The end of Soldier Love was a very sad one. We have parasites and blood suckers who are out there to suck anybody and everybody. Now Morgan Tsvangirai is a significant figure we see these Zanu PF guys visit, and I respect them for that, right? Besides my other respect for any individuals in whatever respect. So we see the guys appearing respectfully. Now, wakomana ve security, ni wakomana wanongoziyana ninga kuti arikamenda kumba kwa bamukuru wangu kana sekuru wangu ningi kana kuti hama yangu, right? Kana munhu aso public zvekuti asichaziva hama dzake dzese ndi anongofunga kuti tinoziyana ndatingoinawo pamba pake ipapo. So they are welcomed, right? Nelson Chamisa is doing the greeting, the welcoming the guys as they are about to enter. This entire video is 2 minutes long, right? So that's how the political guys move. We're seeing the free spirit there in the face of ED and Chiwenga, right? Obviously, security, we don't allow you to smile, guys. You are working, okay. But you and the president, you are not the same people. Of course, you can tell people whatever you want to be telling. Pangori driver, what driver, whoever you are. We're seeing another military officer there. We're seeing my security up, right? So Chamisa, whether he's the vice president of the party, he is not there. Tsvangirai, because the vice president of our party, Tsvangirai cannot manage our own party. He is there because Tsvangirai, he is a son figure. Tsvangirai is a father figure to him. At the same time, there is a friendship that they are a family, right? I'm sure they would be having a relationship with, when something is happening, you can call me. But the problem with Nelson Chamisa, he is a young person, obviously, respecting my elders, political party, right? I'm not necessarily targeting Elias Mzuri, but Elias Mzuri in this is one party which I know would be playing a pulling down part. We see Elias Mzuri becoming an engineer in Harare, where Harare is big, MDC winning in Harare in the center, right? Anyways, right now we see the Triple C, it is Mayor Jacob Mafume. I have nothing against him, right? If anything, he's a very brilliant guy, right? But for him to remain in politics, you would need a horse he can ride on. There's nothing wrong on that. As long as you are delivering, also you are doing something for the people. We all need a way to get into power. That's how it is. Then we see images there. The happy face is there. Then we see Morgan Tsvangirai's wife at the face there from the image there. She is grateful that this guy is somebody has come, right? Because at this time, there is nowhere to look to. Sometimes the problem you'll be having is thinking you have a problem, and the stress itself is the problem. You'll be needing moral support, right? Or just pretending, right? And there are those types of people who are vaizvita ningi vaizvita mukadzi watsvangirai iye mukadzi wake munyowani iyeyoyo ezvinotsvangirai achafa ipapo achatosiyiwa imba yese ko mwana wake uyu atokura achaita sei ipapo. So we will see cases like that arising. Akomana takakupai drama rinonzi Neria muna 1995, right? Tikakupai mangoma namudhara tuku. We should have learned from that, right? The things to do with inheritance, etc. Actually, the things we consider as assets and wealth in Zimbabwe, they are nothings, right? Can you say I've invested in life just because you have bought a fridge, here $200 marino tenga forma bottle of whiskey? Kana uti ndatenga ma kitchen chairs $70 mari singakwani office chair. So that perspective we'll be having in our Yekuti, we are coming from colonialism, right? Tine brain the plus mentality, chinotozo wedzerwa the operation muramba china after land deform program where we see my war veterans nemakitu youths vanoenda vobva vanotora ma farms, right? Varimi voenda nekugona kurima kwavo. my war veterans ongosara nevu chete at the farms, and obviously animals at the farms. Then I'm speaking my animals at the farm at George Oil, meaning muka, right? So we can't hide that because it's an art who predict out nguruwe. Kwete kuti my authors are afraid of anybody to know I'm hiding. No, it is an art to make it easy to understand. All right. So the animals will be the people actually, right? Who then turn those productive farms into their rural homes, and then they turn the irrigation equipment. They sell it to scrap metals. Empowerment comes. Kasukuere, one of successful Zimbabweans who would be successful as a youth coming from university straight, he's given a chance by President Mnangagwa, because President Mnangagwa, not President now Mugabe, my uncle Robert Mugabe, is giving Mugabe, he's not really a politician, but he's also a man of the people. He gives this youth a chance. Okay, come here, let's work. Right, we see Kasukuere starting and Akom or Chichi working. Now, Kasukuere was somebody who is educated, somebody who worked, somebody who invested, somebody who is well planned. He was not the Butilika type of person where when we go to Blawa, they say ED 2030 because they think ED 2030 oh mota yakwe. So ED asi Chivayo and Chivayo as tag foot whatever he's doing, you will never do that. Right? He's doing whatever he's doing. So naive people have a wrong perception. That's why they are fanatic, and we can't let demagoguery and fanaticism control anything in our nation. Fanatics are powerless. Most of them, in fact, don't even have national IDs. But zvavanogona ndezvekuenda kumarali nekuroorwa vanhu nekumanhamo kunochema, right? Vachiti vakapuhwa chicken in one naMnangagwa, takagina akadibai takamadya machicken yake akomana. How much is a chicken? Depending on type of chicken. Okay, a chicken is profit in itself because you can keep your own. So we have a type of mentality two pizza. Of course, the guys from Chicken Inn, they do cook well, all right, but it's fast food, it's junk food.
Cooperating very well. He says he will soon again going back to.
So these guys we are seeing, I'm not going to be talking about them because I just thought of it. I know these guys, right? I'm sure, but I'm now not sure just because I thought, right? They are standing as if they are guarding President Mnangagwa there. These guys, I'll leave it there. So one of the guy I was actually 2 streams ahead of me at Zengeza High one, there, the one in blue tie. So I want to talk about them.
Medical checkups.
Going forward, do you see any prospects of a GNU going forward?
That's the cause.
So it makes sense. Anyways, obviously I will not say him anymore.
Some are looking for it.
You are allowed to vote. In a democratic country, people can vote for anything.
Mr. President,
Currently, there is no need.
Mr. President, did you come to visit Mr. Tsvangirai?
All right. So here he's saying, Mr. President, did you come to visit Mr. Tsvangirai? Right. So the guys would then leave. After the guys leaving, we see the media take interest in Nelson Chamisa, who was welcoming President ED, because President ED and security unless you are somebody right? So that is the way it is, right? So we can't expect Charles Charamba goes wanting to see Mnangagwa over Haraswane security. It's something that can't happen, right? Because obviously Mnangagwa would be a fan of Charles Charamba, right? Things like that.
The right direction. It is our hope. Of
So the speak we hear now What is he talking about? Earlier on, ED, when he asked about dialogue, he would have said, anybody can think whatever they want. It's a democratic society. But they go there with open mind, with no plan. It's not like in Zimbabwe, they had been another Tsvangirai who had been sick before they know how to be with another person. But they are coming from a coup, right? ED was almost homeless and almost a street kid in South Africa, when he escapes Zimbabwe, wearing a dress. Okay, I'm just over exaggerating there for dramatic there, but he was almost homeless, like Jonathan Moyo, of course, is not homeless, right? But homeless, home nation, things like that. Chiwenga, the G, no, they can't touch him, right? You defend himself.
Tsvangirai has not been feeling well, so this was simply a visit to check on how he's doing. We appreciate it because it engenders and promotes.
We appreciate it. It engenders and promotes
A new thrust in the new direction.
A new thrust in the new direction. So there were a lot of opportunities for GNU, right, for the good of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, what it needs is the confidence of the people for it to work, right? You don't need to implement any policy or what, just the confidence. That's all it takes, right? So, in Triple C, they were saying, you must not unite with this guy. Okay, we are one party, Triple C. See, me, I'm Fadzai Mahere. I would be having my own political party, remember 2 years ago. But now I'm working with you, Triple C. But you, right, stay there. Okay, because when you become President Nelson Chamisa Tsvangirai, I have to become Vice President as Adam Tambara Tabangu or Adam Tambara Mahere, right? That happens in politics. They think another person is rising. It said we take our politicking, politics as politicking and as a career. Here, we have career politicians when it's supposed to be just serving the nation. Same applies in Zanu PF, the overzealous Butilikas. Now in Zanu PF, it's even serious. Right? In Zanu PF, with the type of Butilikas that worship a person to a level where they can be asked to do anything. The type of people who can do anything just because they want to be pleasing somebody, they will be soliciting for something. I'm Dara. I'm Dara. Right. So there are those types of people who exist, and they would actually try to do something like that, especially wakasangana nemungu ngane kachigaro over endai my comrades, right? So there's no rank of comrade anywhere in the constitution or anywhere in the Bible or anywhere on earth, right? So that would be the genocide if they do manage to become successful. So if such fools would come to somebody like me, I would kill them all.
Direction of politics of peace, politics of
peace, politics of all that things there, right? What we need in Zimbabwe is a smooth transition, right? We saw Mnangagwa and Mugabe, Mnangagwa and Chiwenga are leadership styles. Don't forgive me, I'm not saying I'm Mnangagwa, not Chiwenga. In Zimbabwe, we have that character also. Mnangagwa, ana respect, ana chi, which is more respectful to President Emerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa, cannot Mnangagwa. Which one is more respectful? All right, me, my name is Clarence Kudzai Patsika, right? What is more respectful to me to call me Mr. Patsika or Patsika? So I will not wait for an answer. Mr. Patsika is done. So we're making it official. We're not friends. We're not close, right? It is also done by pretenders. You are guaranteed, right? but Mugabe ndi Mugabe. Mugabe ndo angari Mugabe. Chatunga ndi Mugabe but asitumbori Mugabe kusvikira pamwe azoitawo Mugabe. Chatunga ndi Chatunga. Right. Grace ndi Grace. Right. Ska whoever Mnangagwa ari kwa whether ndi Mnangagwa ndi president whatever. Right. I just look at those guys as they are. I don't even see them as presidents or vice presidents. In fact, when I be analyzing those guys, they're just as any Zimbabwean who is interesting or not interesting, a figure, right? So with that said, we were watching that video from President Chamisa there, right? Thank you guys, thank you. Okay, thank you for thanking me for saying President Chamisa. He's our president, you know. Okay, I'm being sarcastic there. Anyways, but that works every time. So the wisdom of God, if you know, you know. Different leadership patterns, ED and Chiwenga. We saw Chiwenga wearing a Mugabe mustache there. Why would somebody give him a mustache? He was stressed. That's why he did that, right? Or maybe he's like me. He likes the type of fashion like this cap with this fake diamonds. It's all plastic there. Okay. Or whatever that is different or that is trendy. Right. I don't mind wearing a suit and a tie at a artistic production. We call a television production because I'm an artist. It is us who create these softwares and these broadcasting standards and the microphones themselves and also the music and also the instruments and also the hardware of the desks and also the computers and everything else. It will be artists like me who do the creation, not Vanwe Makua who tell you to wear a tie and that, right? So that is, I'm putting myself in that position because that is what I am exactly. In Zimbabwe, sometimes when we listen to entitled people, we may forget to focus on the sense of the focus. So I preempt any possible negation. When we hit the devil, we do flawless victory. Okay. We're going to close with the leadership styles. The difference in the leadership style, basically, those are the main points of this video. We are 40 minutes into this video. Okay, bear with me. I'm just trying to open my script there. Now, from what we see or the images they perceive, that is who they are, whether they are pretending or they are real, that is who they are. What we see is what we see. Things are as they are. If a person is doing what they are doing, that is exactly what they'll be doing. Whether we are young or adult, a person cannot be fooled by another person. A person can only fool themselves or be violent to force acceptance of what they know it's a lie. Okay, kana muna chitokuvhara you know kuti muna kundivhara but ungazobvumira kunyara here. But you can, people actually do that. But can you nyara munhu ari kukuuraya? They're asking you to sacrifice your dignity, everything that makes you, to sacrifice your principles, just because what? Of nothing. So Chiwenga's leadership style differs from Emerson Mnangagwa in significant ways, reflecting from their backgrounds. Chiwenga is what we would call a normal military man, the normal way. Mnangagwa is a crocodile gang style, right? Mnangagwa is a Russian style approach trained person. Chiwenga is a general who is running an army, an entire institution. Mnangagwa has just 5 people in the crocodile gang in the Chimurenga time there. And in the Chimurenga, there are various groups that are fighting for independence, and they are not Zanla. Zanla is a Mugabe's trick where he is. Okay, you all guys, you are fighting the war. You are called Zanla. I am Robert Mugabe. I am your spokesperson. I will be speaking with the whites on your behalf, etc., and getting funding and things like that, so we can have one move and one approach. Okay, I'm a very brilliant person. I'll become the president anyway one day. Okay. So that is what was happening there. But it's not humiliating, but can Zanu PF admit that to who? Why would they be admitting that? Okay. The books are not yet written. We see Bonyongwe did write his book there. I haven't read it, but he just wrote it quickly. Why? Something to do with where we are going right now. Leadership approach. Chiwenga's military background, a former military general. Chiwenga's leadership style is likely to be more disciplined and hierarchical. He emphasizes order, unity, and adherence to party values, which stems from his military training. This contrasts with Mnangagwa's more politically politicking approach, which involves anything possible, strategy, no strategy, maneuvering, coalition, anything that can do, right? So Mnangagwa, I would say, he is one of the greatest politicians in the context of politics. I know. In simple words, Mnangagwa is so see in terms of politics. I give him that. Mnangagwa is actually very brilliant. Aristag. Like is in high level, right? Are you the best we have? It would took him more than 20 years to get his way after the big so see had gotten old just angarazo kuchembera uzaro tsotsira inzi Mugabe. So Mnangagwa would be coming pa number 3, pa number 2, apana Mugabe number 1, Mnangagwa number 3, because Mugabe ndianga number 1 and number 2, yes. Okay. Okay. Political maneuvering and things like that. Right. So Chiwenga, his maneuvering would come after he is targeted. There and again, further when he becomes sick, he is getting a picture of another life which he doesn't know, which he hasn't incurred, right? Like what would happen to his other wife, Mary, where Mary is told by a certain person, Mary, you need to secure your things, buy your own properties on the side, so that when you do that, I'll tell your husband, so that you get under fire, right? So the issue of attempting to kill Chiwenga, what I assume and what I know, according to my psychoanalysis of different types of people, how they think if you tell anybody, Mnangagwa told me to kill that person, you are allowed to kill, right? Mnangagwa said I should kill him. They think that is a reality, right? So from the court papers where we would see something like that coming from a testimony where a doctor is witnessing, there would be a scenario like that, because it is a case that is still before the courts. I will not say it clearly, right? Of course, lawyers have to be doing their jobs, etc. What I can say, something did do happen, right? Whatever Mary was implicated in, she was under duress. she is not a wise person. Basic wisdom. Okay, I'm not talking of exceptional, right? When I'm saying basic wise, you have to be above average, right? Right? The type yemunhu yokusazofarwa kana kumanipulateeka in a certain way, right? Like that. Okay, you have bought properties somewhere else. There's nothing wrong in that, right? Maybe the only wrong thing is that you are hiding the property, right? Whatever you and your husband have worked for together, it's all yours. It doesn't matter. You should not even think of that. Okay, there are laws to do with that. You don't need papers. You don't know mtemo. You don't need those papers. Okay. Anabas. My paper. I see proof and I see evidence. It's something that you can touch with your hands, maybe evidently in your hand, right? At law, they are nothing. So those things would happen. Then Chiwenga coming from the world, but those things will be known that you just come out clean. Zimbabwe is going through an era where the spirits that led us through the Chimurenga is leading us through another time. This nation has vanguards who are also led by the spirits, right? So some seeds, depending on who you touch, right? It depends. There are some things that happen. I don't know why they happen or whatever. I don't want to be looking into that or researching into that. But things like that do happen. You know, maybe a person needs to be setting themselves free from themselves, the idea they have, so they have to come clean. And do you know, if any man catches their wife cheating by not catching them, if the woman comes out clean, 100% of the time they never leave the woman. If the woman doesn't come clean, 100% of the time they do. To anybody, including anybody watching this video, that is the basic response, right? Because obviously I will not say some things. Anyways, political maneuvering, then focus on economic issues. Chiwenga focusing on economic priorities. The rhetoric here has been in from the time we see Tulengube emerging. The Chiwenga should have 2% in the right? So just because Chiwenga was a hilarious character, right? Guys, I don't mind anything, okay. And now kunyala panapa ndindo salute kwa etc kana mukandona ndichifara and sikunyebeza, I'm happy for real, right? And namunhu andrusa yakusvotisa ndizoseka kunge kudo down. It doesn't exist in my world, right? But there's some people who can't sense, who can't what do we call, who can't discern, right? Some people who don't have a spirit, who cannot discern what reality is. Vanobatwa nema impulses, right? Who can think kuti image ya Chiwenga yakafanana ne-image ya Chinotimba yatinayo, even though both guys are not that image iyoyo, right? Yakafanana na gringo before tana gringo physical, yakafanana na gringo angare mukatuni re newspaper, right? I mean equal the gringo, right? Because we are coming from a time where Tatina Katuna Garfield are parade, right? The first guy to be making good cartoons is Tony Namate from the Daily News. But before that, Tatini quiet Zaredu, one gringo cartoon and another cartoon, I'm forgetting the name, Nyambo Zinokoza Moyo. That was the social scene we have. So there's that type of yellow journalism art where we see caricature. Kana chidraw cartoonic ye politics inodrwa ine mazimuromo. Remember mdala akambobuda akapfeka short vambe kwa picture ne handa kwa picture Land Rover etc. So those things they are called memes, right? Memes are actually a type of intonation or speaking to the soul It's indirect. Just like a smiley face, can you manipulate away whether you know it or not. Those things are very, very real. So it's a subject that needs conscious awareness of, because it affects very seriously, right? Focus then on 2030. Again, relationship with party factions. We see Chiwenga call for unity, and then Chiwenga edge for unity within Zanu PF, speaking on factionalism and succession within politics. All right, this is 9:25 a.m. is Zimbabwe time. Today is 29 October 2024. Somebody outside was shouting a phonetic similarity to the name Tari. I have my sister Tari, right? So here we have a group of organized criminals who think they can kill me and take my blood or whatever nonsense, or drive me crazy, and steal anything from the nothing that I've got here in this emergency situation. I'm just saying it for the record as I do finish this video right about now. Enough respect to everybody who is watching us live. So I did call the president's office with this, right? You have to come here, okay? Because I'm now holding you responsible for that. That is President Emerson Mnangagwa and Vice President Chiwenga. I did call your offices, right? So I'll call again because my personal liberty and my mind. Okay, I'm not a gold digger. I'm not looking for the government to compensate me or what. I'm the type of person that would bail out this government. With that, I sign out. Dr. Clarence, TV7 Live. Pana basentina baruti klo iminyararize pamidza apa anofana ngari mwana wari kusona aipusha ngoro pazengeza 2 up, right? Anofana ngari yeye who's doing that hidden language there. I'm just assuming, and I'm saying this on this video for the record, right? So those will be people who will grow up neighboring Arma next door, etc. So basically they are in that routine, and all other whatever they be indulging in. Okay, it's not my world. I don't know about that. Okay, I'm not into some what heckling or what. I'm not an imbecile. Okay. So it is for the record. With that said, so that is clear evidence of distress and duress. Me saying that. Okay. So 9:28. I'll call again your offices and I'll text you. There will not be threats. I'm saying it ahead of time. Like now. Okay? So enough respect to everybody who's watching us live right about now. The guy who is supposed to be the father there, when my father allegedly commits suicide, he is the one who sees him watering trees when it was raining. I don't think my father committed suicide. I assume they killed him and hanged him. So only they know, because the other house, this is 15 and then 19, the woman there would come and tell me to commit suicide or wear a dress and enter the road, things like that. So we're dealing with such type of people, because at least they should look at their own brain level and mentality, right? They are people without any resilience, right? In other words, not to be rude, losers, right? So they should just look at things at their own perspective, and obviously one would have done that. Now I can imagine the level of bloody thirstiness. If it wasn't that I'm spiritually superior than them, they would have managed to kill me a long time ago, right? So it happens in society. So sometimes in society, we then see kuzobuda mapicture vana vachienda pane zvimwe zvikoro vakaita sei vamwe vana vari mutaundi vachiitwa ma-street kids, right? Actually here it's their children, but mawan they're destroying like young kids. I don't know if it's an issue for social welfare or is it RP VFU, but the kids need to be psychoanalyzed, like really the type of things they are doing with kids here. It's really disturbing, right? Remember the scenario where we see in folk law of, we hear the story of Chaminuka, itumirwa vana chichi etc. That type of nonsense, right? So obviously I'm a person with self-respect. I respect anybody, but meeting a kid, I would respect a child more, right? Because if it's in a road, I would give them way. They can't yet, things like that, right? So when these are with nothing to say about anything, wanna be saying anything about whatever, because they are police or whatever they are, they send vana. So it's a culture that happens usually muma ghetto, muma high density suburb, which would create imbeciles. It's very sad. What I would wish for our nation, let us focus on state security, empower our civil servants, and build the middle class, right? And the prestige for the basic people who power our nation. Those people who will be coming from this, who grow up in hooliganism and rebellion mentality. It's an urban area. There's nothing urban or modern or civilized about this high density suburb. We have those very same people vanoskonoita mametropolis ekanzuru muharare city council, just because apinda basa, because ari musero akavhotera councillor primary election, then they become my town manager and my town clerk. All those people should be fired. We need people who can do the job, not the type of nonsense vanhu vakakura vari mabhuli ari machichi. Here kusengeza, I was still a kid before you would see Chipangano in Mbari. They had Mazero boys, that type of things. Those days there was a lot of superstition, right? A whole lot of nonsense. It's a very sad and disturbing. Enough respect to Asangara, big up to Pangizwa, and he says spiritually. Yeah, but when we are literate, we can read and write. But it will take the Bible and the dictionary to understand the meaning of the word spiritually. We are spiritual as we are. Okay, so it's as real and as simple as that. But we may lose our focus because we are under narrow subjects which they want to be talking about, because the devil is all about distraction, right? So there are many definitions of spirit. Maybe spirit, let's just say something in the air you can't see, you can't touch with your so-called physical hands, right? The idea is a spirit. All right, in the spirit of Ubuntu, I'm in good spirit. Guys, don't spoil the mood here, the party mood. Okay, this is a party pooper amamira pa party akanganisa party mood honai uyo vana ucheka cake ari kuti right anoda kungofinura ane mweya wakasviba mweya anogara zvinhu zviri dirty mind right. Dirty mind doesn't mean kufunga ma-genitals, no. Dirty mind is kutosvibisa, that type of behavior. So basically, that do some of the definitions, whatever they are, right. Remember, God is not dead. We may have killed him in our lives, etc. But everything is active. Whoever God is, I'm saying whoever God is because some people would want to hide with the name of God, of which God is not the name of God. Enough respect to Stephen Muchawaya, Chalembano, Cohen Masangu, Lillian Mark, agent of Comedy TV, Taurai Nyati, Amos Masunda, Pangizwa, Ani, everybody who is watching us live right about now. With that said, guys, to those who are prayerful, do help me in prayer. As I'll be praying on this side, sometimes praying for somebody, we are just creating into the universe there. We just pray for the Spirit of God to reign. With that, I sign out, and our leaders, as they finish their term, they should go out with a bang. Do something big. Okay, whatever it is, may God lead you. Dr. Clarence is the name. TV7 Live is the channel. As always, thank you for watching. And I'm out. Big up to Gona Creative for watching from Abu Dhabi there. Nafa respect there. Eric Ngwenya says, all those who betrayed Nkomo will pay in one way or another. Yeah, a very sensitive story there. The story of Nkomo. Nkomo, when he begins, the person who would be their advisor is an uncle of mine, who would be an uncle also of the guy who will become the first president of Zimbabwe. I'm not going to say the first name, but the guy is Sam Kange. There's a whole lot of things that are happening during those days, and that team and those crew there. We should grow from that politics because in Zimbabwe, we are beginning to embrace academics and professionals and consultancies. We may be interested in things, right? We are going to the bushes, we are 15 years old. Some things need some professionals. Because if you get advice from another president, maybe they were just like you, right? So of course we got independence, things like that. We need to learn to move forward with our nation. Right now, let's just start by a smooth transition, as we'll be ensuring that after Mnangagwa, we have another political party that is not Zanu PF, right? And anybody who will be said that you want Zanu PF out of power, obviously they would be needing therapy. Unless they're maniac, maybe they would need a Chikurubi institution.